I want to talk to you about zero tolerance of boundary violations. Why is that important? Well, it takes a lot of work to get to the place where you have a boundary. It takes all that back and forth of kind of putting up with it and not sure of what's bothering you, getting upset, then doubting yourself, and then figuring out that, okay, this is really something that is not okay, that I will not accept and will not do. And it takes so much work that when you get to that point, you may be like, oh, I'm so glad I finally set this boundary and now I don't have to work at this anymore. I've gotten rid of this behavior. I said it's not okay with me. I'm not going to live with it. I'm not going to allow it in my house, in my relationship. And now you just relax. You're just like, it's great. I can't believe I got to that point. And here's the problem. With a lot of people, in fact, most people that are not healthy, you are not only going to have to get to the point where you set your boundary, you are going to have to follow through on your boundary and not allow boundary violations. And you're going to have zero tolerance. And so what that means is that you stand up to any violation, no matter how small, you let the consequences come, and you never make empty threats. So you have got to, that's a zero tolerance. You said that you wouldn't do something for your child if the child was disrespectful. Do not do it ever, not once. Don't make exceptions, don't excuse it, don't rationalize it, don't let your kid talk you out of it. It's just you said it, and that's the way that it's going to be, obviously, with understanding of different circumstances. But basically, when you set a boundary, you're gonna stand firm in that boundary. And you can change your mind about boundaries. You can say, I said I wouldn't do this, but I've changed my mind, and this is why. But you can't be wishy-washy, especially right after you set that boundary. You can't tolerate that same thing. So, zero tolerance. Now, here's what happens when you don't have zero tolerance. You set the boundary, you state what you will not do and what you will not tolerate or allow in your house or home or life or relationship. And you have gone all the way through what is typical to go through, like the grief cycle of shock that it's happening and denial, and then getting angry about it, and then going back through this kind of bargaining of what if I wish I could do this, trying to talk to the person, explain, ask the person not to do it. And then you go through like sadness where you actually get into that grief of, though this is really happening, my child really is doing drugs, or my spouse really is having an affair, or the person is lying, or you putting money somewhere that, spending it in a way that was not agreed upon, whatever it is. And then you finally get to acceptance where you realize that, okay, this is really happening and I need to do something about it. And the boundary is what you've decided to do. So let's say that you set a boundary with some abusive behavior. Person is discounting you, telling you that you're crazy, telling you you're sensitive, not listening to what you have to say, just discounting it, making it worth nothing, telling you your feelings are ridiculous and that that's not how you feel. So let's say you set a boundary and you say, I'm not going to tolerate discounting. And if it happens, I'm going to call it out. And I want you to own it and apologize. And so you're firm, and that person says, okay, I'll work on it. I won't discount. I'll read a book. I'll let you tell me, or I'll even go to a couple counseling sessions. And then the person gets better for a little while. And then the person discounts you. You call it out and you say, that's discounting. You agreed not to do that. And then that person says, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize I did that. So the person backs down, and then it happens again. And you think, okay, I'm shocked that this is happening again. The person said he was going to get better, and now it's still happening. And so you bring it up again, and the person gets annoyed with you and says, I wasn't really discounting. And you say, yes, you were. And then that person walks away angry. And then you think, okay, now I tried, I brought it up, the person didn't admit it. Now what am I going to do? Okay, I'm not really in that place where I said I wouldn't tolerate it. I don't, what does that mean? Does that mean I leave? Does that mean I end the conversation? You got to, whatever it is that you said you would do, you got to do. But if you allow this person's backing down to get you back in that place again where you're like, oh my gosh, I have to go all the way back through. I don't want to do that. And you just walk away. You think, oh, I brought it up. Person didn't denied it. They're angry. And then it starts happening again and again. And then you think, oh, I don't want to bring it up because if I bring it up, it's going to deny it again and get angry and then things are going to be bad. So you tolerate more and more and more. And then all of a sudden, before you back in that place where you discounting is happening all the time along with other behaviors and you bring it up and you person discounts you even more, you just imagining it, you're crazy, you're picking on me, and then you're right back in the place where you got to go through all that again. A better option is zero tolerance. Whatever it was that you said you were going to do, you do it. You don't tolerate violations of the boundary, and it doesn't matter if the person uh, denies it or whatever, you're going to follow through. And there, when somebody is changing behavior, there is a time where they're going to slip and they're going to go and do what they said, what you said you wanted them to change, but they have to be willing to acknowledge it, continue to work on it, and apologize when it happens. If there's denial, if there's anger, if there's rationalization, if there's excusing, and if the frequency of that behavior is getting more rather than less, then that's all boundary violations that you need to follow up and whatever it was, that's your next step or your consequences. 2 Corinthians 11:19-21 says, you gladly put up with fools since you are so wise. In fact, you even put up with anyone who enslaves you or exploits you or takes advantage of you or puts on airs or slaps you in the face. To my shame, I admit that we were too weak for that. That's Apostle Paul talking, just basically saying, you tolerate whatever anybody wants to do to you and you don't stand up. Psalm 55:21 says, his talk is smooth as butter, yet war is in his heart. His words are more soothing than oil, yet they are drawn swords. And that doesn't mean that we're always talking about men. 1 Corinthians 10:12, so if you think you are standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. Whoa, that is a huge, huge, important verse to take into consideration. Be careful that you don't fall if you think you're standing firm. You got to maintain that firmness and work on it, especially when you're with people who are unhealthy and are not in and of themselves able to figure out how to be healthy in a relationship and how to treat you right or how to do what is right in their own lives. So I hope that this idea of zero tolerance will kind of resonate with you and that you'll be able to help you with your boundaries and help you to stick to your boundaries. So thank you for watching this video on Change My Relationship, and I hope that you will share this with people that you know that are struggling with their boundaries. And also, I have a 5-week boundary class that is offered on Zoom, and you can also do it on your own. So that is in my store, and we'll put the link down in the bottom to the video notes. So thank you for watching. God bless you.